This is a lesson for R-6. These questions all come from chapter 4. What we're dealing with today are functions. All right. The first part are your yes and your no questions. All right. When we talk about functions, remember that if there's 2 points directly above each other, it is a no. It doesn't matter if they're really close together right above each other or really far apart, as long as they're directly above each other. All right. So when there's 2 points right directly above each other, your answer is a no. Everything else is a yes. So when you take a look at this first one, you'll notice that there are 2 points directly above each other right there. Because there are 2 points directly above each other, this one is a no. And again, it doesn't matter if they're close like this. If we had a point that was down here instead, this would still be a no because they would be right directly above each other. In the middle one, there are not 2 points directly above each other. So this one is a yes. Remember that anytime that you have a picture like this, where it's a solid line, no matter what shape it forms, remember that there are really dots all along this solid line. When we take a look at this one specifically, are there 2 dots that are right directly above each other? No, there's not. Therefore, our answer is a yes. So our answer is only a no when there's 2 dots directly above each other. The next type of yes and no question, there's a couple different kinds of questions. All right. There's 3 different kinds of questions like this. If there are 2 x values that are the same, that's when it is a no. So remember that all points are written x comma y. So I'm just going to go through and do my x's and my y's right here. If there are 2 x values that are the same, it's a no. Did I say anything at all about the y's? No, I didn't. I didn't say anything about the y's whatsoever. In this type of question, you can actually go through and cross out all of the y's because the y's don't matter at all in this type of question. So all that you're looking at are your x's. If you have 2 x values that are the same, it's a no. Here you have an x value of a 1. Here you have an x value of a 1. Because we have both x values being the same, this one is a no. In this one, we have 0, 2, 4, and 6. All of them are different. So this one is a yes. When you have your oval questions like these, your first oval is your x, your second oval is your y. And that's always how that it is. If you use an x value twice, it's a no. So notice this 1. Notice how I have 2 arrows coming out of the 1. I have 1, 0 when I follow that arrow. I have 1, 3 when I follow that arrow. So because I'm using this x value twice, this one is a no. If you're only using it 1 time each or not at all, that's when it would be a yes. When we take a look at the second one here, notice that I'm using this 5 twice. I have 5, -1 and 5, +1. Because I'm using this 5 twice, this one is a no. In your tables like these, again, just like before where I crossed out all of my y values, I don't care about my y values whatsoever. I could actually go through and cross out all the y values. I'm not looking at them at all. If there are 2 x values that are the same, that's when it's a no. So I have 0, 4, 7, 8, and 10. All of them are different. So that means this one is a yes. Here I have -3, -2, 0, -1, 0, and 0. I have 2 x values that are the same. That's what makes this one a no, because I have 2 x values the same. So again, if you have 2 x values that are right above each other on the graphs, it's a no. If you have 2 x values that are the same, like the 1 and the 1 here, it's a no. If I use an X value twice, it's a no. And if I have two X values the same, like the zeros, it's a no. The next type of question is evaluating functions. When you are evaluating functions, you're going to take what's inside the parentheses and sub it in for X. Now remember, when you have a number next to a letter, that means times. So this is really -2 times X. This is really 2 times X. This is really 1/2 times X. So what we really have here is -2 times 6. Instead of -2 times X, I'm subbing in my 6, minus 4. You can type that right directly into the calculator. -2 times 6 minus 4, and you get an answer of -16. In this one, we're subbing in a -5. So 3 plus 2 times -5. Type that directly into the calculator, exactly how it says, and you get an answer of -7. Now, be very, very careful. When we were solving equations the other day, there were a couple of people that messed up on a fraction that looked like 1/2. Remember, 1/2 is not 1.2. 1/2 is not 1.2. It's really 1 divided by 2, which is 0.5. So we have 0.5 times X, or in this case, when we sub in a 7 for the X, 0.5 times 7, which is 3.5. In this type of question, we're not just subbing in one number for X, we're taking all of these numbers and subbing them in for X. So we have -2 times -5, which is +10, plus 3 is +13. We have -2 times -4, which is +8, plus 11, or sorry, plus 3 is 11. -2 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. -2 times 2 is -4, plus 3 is -1. And -2 times 5 is -10, plus 3 is -7. In this one, again, we're going to take all 5 of these numbers and sub them in for X. So we have 5 times -3, which is -15, plus 7 is -8. 5 times -2 is -10, plus 7 is -3. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 7 is 12. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 7 is 17. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 7 is 22. So again, all that you're doing is taking those numbers, subbing them in for X, and finding your answer. The next type of question that you have today are function tables. When you have a function table, you need to find the 2 missing numbers in the table, and you need to write the rule. Remember, when you go to write the rule, your rule always has a y equals and an x. So I'm actually going to go through right now and put all my y equals and my x's in there right away, because I know that I always have a y equals and an x. I know that I always have a y equals and an x. Now, there are 2 different types of questions. The first type of question that we have is where your x values go by ones. Now remember, domain and range just mean x and y. Input and output just mean x and y. So the first type of question that you have is when your x values go by ones. The second type of question that you're going to have is where your x values don't go by ones. They might be counting by 2s or by 3s or by 4s or by 5s. When they go by 2s, 3s, or 5s, remember, you have to use this rule: subtract, subtract, divide. Subtract going up your y, subtract going up your x, and then divide. You're going to divide your y answer divided by your x answer. But we're going to get to those in a second. Let's go back to the ones that go by ones. You could use subtract, subtract, divide on this type of question if you want to, but you don't have to. It's easier when the x column goes by ones to just look at the pattern going down the y column. All right, you want to look at the pattern going down the y. That will give you the number that goes in front of the x. So we have 3, 5, 7, 9. What are we doing each time? We're adding by 2. Since we're adding by 2 each time, a 2 goes in front of your x. Since we're adding by 2 each time, continuing on with the pattern, 7, 9, 9 plus 2 is 11, 11 plus 2 is 13. Now, the last thing that we need to do is come up with our plus or minus. The way that we get our plus or minus is it is the y value when x equals 0. Sometimes, like in this one, I'm going to have to extend my table. Going down the y column, I was adding by 2. So subtracting by 2, going up the y column. 3 minus 2 is 1. So when x equals 1, y is 1. Subtracting by 2 again, when x equals 0, y equals -1. So I'm going to have a -1 here. Let's take a look at the middle one. -5, -8, -11, -14. What am I doing each time as I'm going down? Well, you could say that you're adding by -3, or you could say that you're subtracting by 3. Either way, it is a -3 that goes in front of your x. If I add -3 here, the next number in my pattern would be -17. If I add -3 again, the next number would be -20. When x equals 0, y is -8. So a -8 goes after the x. Now, the next one goes side to side instead of going up and down. Going down the y column is the same thing as going to the right here. So we have -15, -4. This is hard to figure out what's going on. I'd rather look at my positive numbers going down the y. How do I get from 29 to 40? Well, I'm adding by 11. So an 11 goes in front of the x. So adding by 11, -4 plus 11 gives me 7. 7 plus 11 gives me 18. So those are my two missing numbers in my table. When x equals 0, y is 7. So you have a +7. So on your homework today, you'll have three questions that look just like this. Look at your pattern going down the y column. That's the number that goes in front of your x. And when x equals 0, whatever your y value is your plus or minus after the x. Now, the last type of question is when your x column doesn't go by ones, when it goes by 2s or goes by 3s or something like that. When that happens, we have to use subtract, subtract, divide, SSD. Subtract going, choose two numbers, subtract going up the y. Choose two numbers, subtract going up the x, and then divide your two answers to get the number that goes in front of your x. So I'm going to choose these two. I'm going to do 8 minus 0. 8 minus 0 is 8. Choose two numbers going up the x. 2 minus 0. 2 minus 0 is 2. And now I want to divide. 8 divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 is your number that goes in front of your x. When x equals 0, y is 0. So I could put a +0 there. Finding the two missing numbers in the table, you're going to do it the same exact way. Follow the pattern. How do you get from 0 to 8 to 16? We are adding by 8. So the next number would be 24. Adding by 8 again, the next number would be 32. Take a look at this middle one. Again, we have to do subtract, subtract, divide to find the numbers that go in front of the x. Choose two numbers. Now, you don't have to choose the top two numbers every time. You could choose any two numbers you want. I'd rather work with positive numbers compared to negative numbers. So subtract going up the y. 63 minus 42. 63 minus 42 is 21. Subtract going up the x. 15 minus 12. 15 minus 12 is 3. Now what I want to do is I want to divide those two numbers. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 7 is your number that goes in front of the x. When x equals 0, y is negative 42. So I have a minus 42 after the x. Figuring out the missing numbers in our table, going down the y column, we were adding by 21. So going up, we're going to subtract by 21. So this is 21 and this is 0. Taking a look at the last one. This is the one that's a little bit harder because it has all negatives. Again, what we want to do is subtract, subtract, divide. So going to the right is going down. So I want to go up. So I want to go to the left. So going up the y, I'm going to do negative 20 minus negative 16. Be very careful there. Minus negative. So that is negative 4. Subtract going up the x, 6 minus 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. And now divide. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. That's the number that goes in front of our x. When x equals 0, whatever your y value is your plus or minus. Well, in this case, we need to figure it out first. Going to the right, we were adding by negative 4, or you could say subtracting by 4. So that means going to the left, we're adding by 4. So this is going to be negative 12. This is going to be negative 8. And we would have a negative 8 right there after the x, or a minus 8.